Welcome to Whisper at 3 a.m., where stories are only meant to be heard after midnight. Here, we share chilling experiences, untold secrets, and whispers that only come when the clock strikes 3. If you enjoy horror stories in the style of Reddit No Sleep, don't forget to like, subscribe, share to spread the fear, and comment if you're brave enough to share a story of your own. Now, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and prepare to step into the dark. I saw someone in the bathroom mirror, but only when the lights were off. I always thought people exaggerated about living alone. The quiet, the emptiness, the paranoia. I figured most of that came from having an overactive imagination. That was until I moved into the one-bedroom unit on the second floor of a 1950s brownstone, just outside Boston. The place had charm, I'll give it that. Real wood floors, arched doorways, a gas stove older than my parents'. The rent was surprisingly affordable, which should have been a red flag, but I was desperate after a messy breakup and needed out of our shared condo, out of that life. The first few weeks were uneventful. I settled into a routine: work, gym, microwave dinners, streaming documentaries I'd never finish. The building was mostly quiet, except for the couple downstairs who fought like they were auditioning for a reality show, and the occasional footsteps above me, though no one seemed to rent the third floor. One night, about 3 weeks in, I got home later than usual. A long day. The kind where you don't even want to think. I took a shower and was brushing my teeth when the bathroom light started to flicker. Old wiring, I figured. I tapped the light switch off and on. The flickering stopped, but out of curiosity, or maybe habit, I turned it off again and looked into the mirror. There was someone standing behind me. I froze. My eyes adjusted to the darkness as moonlight filtered through the bathroom window. The silhouette was faint. Male? Maybe? Tall. Slightly hunched, but it didn't move. I spun around instinctively, heart in my throat. Nothing. I flicked the light on. The mirror showed only me, pale and wide-eyed, toothbrush clenched in one hand. I chalked it up to stress. Maybe a smudge on the mirror, a trick of the shadows. But I couldn't shake it. The next night, I tried again, turned off the bathroom light, stared into the mirror. There he was again. Same place, same pose, just standing, watching. I turned the light back on instantly. Checked the apartment, closets, under the bed, nothing, just me and my racing heart. It became a test. Every night, lights off, a few seconds of staring, lights on, like some twisted bedtime ritual. By the end of the week, I realized something. He was getting closer. The first night, he was against the far wall, just barely within the frame of the mirror. Now he stood just behind my left shoulder. Always behind. Always in the mirror, but never in the room. I stopped turning off the light. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. Every creak in the floorboards made me jump. My eyes darted to reflective surfaces instinctively. TV screens, windows at night, even puddles on the street. I started seeing him in more than just the bathroom mirror. Once, while drying dishes, I caught his outline in the microwave door. Just a blur, but it was him. I knew it. I told myself it was a stress-induced hallucination. Sleep deprivation could do that, couldn't it? But the hallucinations don't touch things. That Sunday morning, I woke up to find the bathroom door ajar. I always shut it, always. The mirror had a fresh, long scratch across its surface, like something had dragged fingernails across it. I stared at that mark for a long time. I took a day off work, drove out to see my sister Erin, told her I was just feeling off, maybe a touch of the flu. I didn't bring up the mirror. I wasn't ready to hear myself say it out loud. She noticed, though. "You look like shit, Dean," she said, handing me a cup of tea. "Bad dreams," I muttered. "You used to have night terrors, right? When we were kids?" I hadn't thought about that in years. Nightmares that would leave me screaming, soaked in sweat. Mom used to say I'd talk about the mirror man. We all figured it was just a phase. I left before sunset. Erin hugged me longer than usual. Maybe she sensed something. That night, I covered the mirror with a towel. The next morning, it was folded neatly on the sink, the mirror bare. No one has a key but me. I tried to record it, set up my phone to film the mirror overnight. When I played it back the next morning, the footage cut off at 2:16 a.m. The rest was corrupted. Just static. I checked the timestamp on my phone. 2:17 a.m. Mirror uncovered. 2 a.m. bathroom door wide open. I hadn't moved all night. At least I don't remember doing so. A week passed. then 2. I stopped using the bathroom after dark. I showered at the gym, brushed my teeth in the kitchen sink. It felt pathetic, but it worked. Until I woke up at 3:04 a.m. one night and found myself standing in front of the mirror. The lights were off, and I wasn't alone. He was in the mirror, inches from my back, his face still hidden in shadow. But this time I could see his hand. It was raised, like he was about to touch the glass, or me. I couldn't move. My legs wouldn't respond. I stared, trembling. Then the hallway light clicked on behind me. The image vanished. I bolted. Slept in my car for the rest of the night. I called my landlord the next day, asked if anyone had ever died in the unit. He got cagey, said he didn't know. Then added, almost as an afterthought, "You're not the first to ask that." I pressed him. He admitted a tenant a few years back had left abruptly. Said he was being watched. Real paranoid guy. I found his name in the mailbox panel. L. Morrison. I Googled him. Nothing. I started to wonder if I was next. That Friday, Erin called. Said she hadn't heard from me. I made up some excuse. Work, tired, whatever. "Dean, are you okay?" I didn't answer right away. "You're not still doing that thing you used to do, right? With mirrors?" "What thing?" "You talked to them when you were little." Said someone was inside. My stomach dropped. "You said he lived in the mirror, and if the lights were off, he could see you better." That night, I sat in front of the mirror again. Not in the dark this time. I turned every light on. I wanted to see him clearly, if he was there. I stared for over an hour. Nothing. Then I blinked, and he was right there. My reflection was gone, replaced by him, face to face. His skin was gray like old wax, eyes hollow, lips parted in an almost smile. I screamed and threw the nearest thing I could, my electric toothbrush. The mirror cracked. Not shattered, just a long fracture down the center. When I looked back, it was just me again, but the crack remained. I left the apartment the next day. Moved in with Erin temporarily. Told her it was landlord issues. Mold, maybe. I felt safe at her place. No strange reflections, no scratches, no waking up in the dark. 2 weeks passed. Then I noticed her bathroom mirror. It had a crack, a fresh one, running right down the middle. Erin noticed it too. Asked if I dropped something. No, I lied. That night I dreamed of the mirror man for the first time since I was a child. He was in the dream. But I wasn't a child anymore, and neither was he. I don't remember waking up, just suddenly standing in her bathroom, lights off, looking into the mirror. The crack glowed faintly. He smiled and raised his hand again. This time, so did I. Our fingers met the glass. The cold was real. He didn't vanish. Erin found me in the morning. I'd carved something into the bathroom tiles. I didn't remember doing it. 3 words. He sees better. She begged me to get help. I agreed. Anything to feel normal again. I saw a therapist. Explained everything as dreams, intrusive thoughts. He nodded, took notes, prescribed something. The meds dulled everything, even the fear. But they didn't stop the reflections. They just made me slower to react. Eventually, Erin asked me to leave, not unkindly. She said I needed space to heal. I rented a motel outside town, paid in cash, avoided mirrors. I thought I was safe, until I woke one morning with a new mirror in the room. It hadn't been there before, and it was cracked. I called the motel front desk. "There's a mirror in my room now." Silence. Then, "You asked for it last night." "I didn't. You said you couldn't sleep without it." I hung up. I stared at it all day. Never turned my back to it. Slept with the lights on. Woke up at 2:44 a.m., cold and disoriented. He was in the mirror again. Only now, I saw myself behind him. My reflection had changed sides. It's been 6 weeks. I don't know who I am anymore. Sometimes I see myself walking past mirrors, but I'm not the one moving. I think he's learning, getting stronger. He doesn't need the dark anymore. If you're reading this, check your mirrors. Not for what's there, but for what's not. And if you ever see a crack that wasn't there before, don't turn off the lights. My door camera captured footage of me sleeping while I was away on a business trip. Word count 3,000. I work in IT security, which means I'm generally the kind of person who double-checks passwords, uses a VPN even on home Wi-Fi, and installs security cameras, not for show, but because I understand how easy it is to get into someone's life through a careless gap in their firewall. So when I say I know the footage wasn't fake, wasn't hacked, wasn't some prank, I mean it. This was real, and it shouldn't have been possible. It started during a routine business trip to Denver. 3 nights, 2 presentations, a suitcase packed with more electronics than clothes. I left on a Monday morning. Flight at 6 a.m. I remember locking the door, triple-checking the front and back cameras through my phone app. My condo in Seattle was small but secure. That's what I liked about it. 1 entrance, no shared walls. Only 2 neighbors, both elderly, both the type who still bake things and leave their doors unlocked during the day. The first night in Denver was uneventful. I FaceTimed with my girlfriend Jess, checked my inbox, then, out of habit, opened the home security app. Just the usual. A neighbor walking their dog, a bird hopping on the porch. Normal timestamps. I clicked into the doorbell cam, a top-of-the-line model with a fisheye view and motion-triggered alerts. The last alert was at 1:24 a.m. Seattle time. Curious, I tapped the thumbnail. What I saw made me pause mid-sip of the hotel water bottle. It was me, sleeping, in my own bed, captured from the hallway through the partially ajar bedroom door. The angle was low, like the camera had been placed on the floor just outside. The lighting was dim, and the resolution wasn't perfect, but I recognized my frame, my haircut, the striped pajama pants Jess had given me. I stared at it for a full minute. I wasn't home. I was 300 miles away. I closed the app, reopened it, pulled the footage into full screen. It ran for 34 seconds, just me sleeping, curled to one side, no movement, no audio, just the quiet breathing rise and fall of someone completely unaware they're being watched. I downloaded it immediately, checked the metadata, timestamp matched, IP location was mine, no signs of remote access, no indicators of tampering. I called Jess. She answered on the second ring. Hey, everything okay? Did you go by my place today? No. Why? You didn't go in, right, at all? No, Dean, I didn't. What's wrong? I told her about the footage. Left out some of the more alarming details so I wouldn't sound insane. She laughed nervously. Probably a glitch? Maybe an old clip re-uploaded or something? No, it's from last night. I checked the metadata. A long pause. That's really weird. I know. Want me to go check the place? I hesitated. Jess was tough, ex-army actually, but I didn't love the idea of her walking into something unknown. Still, I needed to know. Take pepper spray, I said, and call me when you get there. It took her 20 minutes to get to my place. She FaceTimed me again as she approached the door. I watched her unlock it and step inside. The condo was spotless, unmoved. She panned the camera around at my request. Kitchen, living room, bathroom, bedroom. Nothing. No signs of forced entry, no extra cameras, no one hiding. Except the bed was unmade. I never leave it that way. And on the nightstand was a glass of water I hadn't poured, my usual coaster underneath. Jess noticed it too. Did you leave this before the trip? No, I cleaned before I left, I always do. She didn't say anything else for a few seconds. Then, Dean, I think someone's been here. I called the police, they sent someone over, took her statement. Jess gave them the footage. They checked the place, found no signs of a break-in, no fingerprints beyond mine and Jess's, no evidence of squatters. They shrugged it off as a possible technical issue. But I knew better. That night, I barely slept. My phone buzzed at 2:19 a.m. Another motion alert. I opened the app with dread. This time it was footage from inside the living room, a camera I'd placed on a shelf facing the front door. There I was again, walking in, wearing the same pajamas. I watched myself move across the room, yawn, stretch, then disappear into the hallway. I checked my hotel room. My suitcase was there, my laptop. I was wearing the same t-shirt and jeans I'd left with that morning. I was still in Denver, so who or what was at my house? I cut the trip short, told my manager I had a family emergency, rebooked a red-eye and was back in Seattle by sunrise. Jess picked me up. We didn't speak much on the drive. She looked pale, like she hadn't slept either. Back at the condo, everything looked normal. Too normal. The air was still stale in a way it gets when no one's opened a window for days. Except someone had. The bathroom window was cracked open. That window sticks. I rarely use it. Jess helped me search the place again. Every drawer, every cabinet, every inch of the attic space. Nothing. No evidence of someone living there. No strange smells, no food wrappers, no bedding. But the water glass was gone. I reset every camera, changed all my passwords, installed 2 more motion detectors, and a pressure pad under the welcome mat. For the first night, nothing happened. Then, at 3:12 a.m., the alert came. Motion detected, bedroom. I pulled up the footage. It was me again, sleeping, same pose, same pajamas. But this time, the figure in the bed opened its eyes, stared straight at the camera, and smiled. I slammed the app shut. My heart was hammering. Jess, asleep beside me on the couch, stirred. "What?" she asked groggily. "He's back," I whispered. The next morning, I emailed the footage to 3 trusted colleagues, told them I was researching a bug, asked if they saw anything odd. All 3 replied variations of the same thing. "That's you, right?" "Yes," and "no." I started digging into the software, the cloud servers, the source code, every line, every command. There was no evidence of outside interference. Then I checked the local storage cache on the camera itself. Hidden deep in a secondary memory bank, one rarely used, were 6 more files, all time-stamped between 1 and 3 a.m., all showing the same figure. Me, sometimes sleeping, sometimes sitting on the couch, once standing at the window watching the street, once staring into the camera, face twisted, like something learning how to smile. I called in a favor from a friend in digital forensics. We met at a bar downtown. He brought a tablet loaded with analytical tools. "It's not deepfake," he said after an hour. "Too fluid, too consistent, and the light shadows, they match natural lighting. This isn't CGI." "Then what?" He shrugged. "Could be someone who looks like you." "No one looks that much like me." "DNA test?" "I never left one." "Not even trash." He frowned. "Then maybe it's not about someone getting in." "What do you mean?" "Maybe it's about something already being there." I moved out. Not officially, not on paper. But I left the condo, rented a furnished short-term place across the city, kept the cameras rolling in my old home. For the first week, nothing. Then, slowly, he returned. In the bedroom. In the hallway. Then he started moving toward the front door. By week 2, the footage showed him standing directly in front of the camera, nose nearly touching the lens. Breathing. That's when I noticed something new. In the background, on the couch, was me. Again, 2 of me. I took the footage to the police again. They humored me, logged it, advised me to speak to a therapist. So I did. Dr. Levitsky, professional, calm, the kind of person who made you feel like nothing was ever too far from normal. Until she watched the footage. She paused it at the frame where both versions of me were visible. "Which one do you think is real?" she asked. "I don't know." "What if neither is?" I didn't sleep that night. I stopped checking the footage, but the alerts kept coming. Motion, entry, movement, all hours of the night. Eventually, one read, "User recognized Dean Connor's welcome home." That feature wasn't enabled. I disabled remote access, shut down the camera network, went back once to retrieve the hardware. The door was unlocked. Inside, the apartment was different. Everything arranged the way I used to keep it months ago. Even the rug Jess hated was back in the center of the living room. On the table was a note, written in my handwriting, "Stay gone." I moved, changed my number, bought all new devices, paid in cash when I could. Jess and I broke up. Too much strain, too much fear. I thought that would be the end, but last week I got a package, no return address. Inside was a flash drive, just one video file. It was me. Sleeping in my new apartment. I don't know who he is or what he wants, but I stopped trying to fight it. Some nights I leave the lights on and the cameras off, and I sleep, waiting for the next recording. The man in our old class photo, no one remembers him. Word count, 3,000. The photo was from 1998. 3rd grade, Ms. Delaney's class at Pinebrook Elementary. 22 kids, 1 teacher, a goofy paper jungle backdrop. I didn't think much about it until I saw the framed print again last month. I was visiting my mom, helping her clean out the attic before she sold the old house. The photo was tucked between boxes of holiday decorations and yellowing school projects. God, look at that bowl cut, I laughed, pointing to my past self in the 2nd row. Mom smiled. You were obsessed with looking like that kid from Home Improvement. We kept unpacking, tossing most of it into garbage bags, but I set the photo aside, something about it tugging at the edge of memory. Later that night, I studied it again. There was something off. One face I didn't recognize. A boy, front row, 2nd from the left, sitting cross-legged, faded denim jacket, dark eyes, no smile. I didn't remember him at all. When I got home to Portland, I scanned the photo, blew it up, zoomed in on that boy's face. Still nothing. No name came to mind, no fragment of memory. I remembered Greg with the missing tooth, Sarah who cried on picture day, even Lisa who moved away mid-year. But not him. It was like he'd been cut from a different picture and pasted in. I posted the photo in a private Facebook group for alumni of Pinebrook Elementary. There were maybe 70 people from our year in it. Captioned it, "Nostalgia Trip. Who remembers this?" The comments poured in quickly. "Whoa, baby faces." Greg still had that shirt in middle school, lol. Throwback. Where's Miss Delaney now? Then, wait, who's that kid in the front? It wasn't just me. No one remembered him. I made a collage, labeled everyone I could, first and last names. By the end of the night, only one face remained untagged. I messaged Sarah, who I knew had kept in touch with Ms. Delaney for a few years. She wrote back fast. "She passed away 2 summers ago. I went to the service. Why?" I sent the photo, asked if she ever remembered a kid like that. 3 dots. Typing. Then she stopped. No reply. The next day, Greg messaged me. "Dude, I printed out the class photo, showed my mom. She swears he wasn't there. Maybe it's an editing error?" I replied. "Some kind of composite glitch? Maybe." Then, "He looks too old." "You see that?" I did. The rest of us had kid faces. Missing teeth, round cheeks, soft eyes, but not him. His features were sharper. Not adult exactly, but wrong. Like someone trying very hard to look like a child. The proportions weren't quite right. His smile, what little there was, looked like something learned, not felt. That weekend, I drove back to Pinebrook. The school was still standing, though they'd repainted and added a fence around the playground. I wandered through the neighborhood, took a detour down the path we used to walk home. Muscle memory took over. At the end of the street, just before the trail cut into the woods, I stopped. I remembered a game we used to play, hiding in the trees, daring each other to go deeper. Kids stuff. But I also remembered something else. A fight. A group of us yelling at someone. I could hear the echoes of it. That strange shame kids feel when they gang up. A voice deep and cold, "You don't get to come back." I tried to picture who we were yelling at, but the face wouldn't come, only a denim jacket. I found the yearbook in the town library archive. 1998, class lists, photos, activities. I flipped to Miss Delaney's page. There he was, again. Front row, unnamed. No label under his face, just a blank space. I checked the class roster printed next to it, 22 names. 23 faces. I asked the librarian if they kept student records. "Not here," she said. "You'll want the district office." It took 2 days and a formal request, but I got a scanned copy of our class list. Names, birthdays, addresses. 22 kids. No extra student. I cross-referenced each name with the photo, all matched. Except him. No record of him ever being enrolled. I brought the photo to a forensic imaging analyst I knew from college. She owed me a favor. "I want to know if this image was tampered with," I said, "digitally or physically." She took it seriously. Scanned, measured, mapped heat signatures in the ink layers. After 2 days, she called me. "I can't explain it," she said. "There's no indication of any digital insertion. The exposure, the lighting, it all matches. If someone edited this, they were a genius. Or they used tech way ahead of what was available in '98. Or he was really there." A pause. "Even then, his proportions are off. Neck too long, jaw too symmetrical. It's subtle, but uncanny." "Like an imitation?" "Yeah," she said, "like someone wearing a child's face." I stopped sleeping. Every night, I'd sit with the photo, zoom in on that face, look into those flat, depthless eyes, and slowly I began to remember. Not him, but the feeling. Recess, late October, the sky dark early. We'd been playing tag in the field and someone said there was a kid hiding in the supply shed. "He doesn't belong," Sarah had said. I remember opening the door, a figure crouched in the shadows, and the smell, like something dead left out in the rain. Then a whisper. "Let me stay." I called Greg, told him what I was remembering. He went silent for a long time. Then he said, "You ever dream about the shed?" "Yes," I whispered. "Me too, for years." "What happens?" I open the door. He's sitting there. Same clothes, same face. He looks at me and he says, "You let me in once, that means I get to stay." I couldn't let it go. I dug through old forums, police archives, even paranormal sites. One phrase kept appearing. The forgotten boy. Mentions across different states. School photos with extra children, none remembered. Always front row. Always the same stare. Sometimes reports of children disappearing after the photo was taken. Always one. Always unnamed. I checked our class records again. There was a boy named Ethan Marks. His name was there, birthday listed. But no further records. No middle school, no high school, no obituary. Just gone. I found his mom's number listed in a 2005 directory. She answered on the third ring. "Mrs. Marks?" I asked. "This is going to sound strange, but I'm researching old classmates. Did your son, Ethan, go to Pinebrook in '98? A long silence. "My son died in '97, she said. "I'm sorry, the records." "There were no records," she said quietly. "Someone used his name, Suja enrolled him under false pretenses. They never found out who." My blood went cold. "I saw the class photo once," she added. "He was in it, but it wasn't him." Then she hung up. That night I had the worst dream yet. I was back in the school hallway, lockers stretching endlessly, the photo hanging crooked on the wall. I moved closer. All the faces were gone, except his. Then I was in the shed again. He stood over me, taller now, skin tighter, more stretched. "You forgot," he said. "No," I whispered, "but you let me in." His mouth opened too wide, rows of teeth too sharp. Now I remember. I woke up to banging at my door. I grabbed a bat, crept to the entry. No one, but on the doormat there was a photo. Our class picture. His face now smiling and mine blurred out. I packed and left town, moved states, changed numbers, blocked every old classmate. I keep no photos in my house now, no school memorabilia, no group shots, no mirrors. Because sometimes late at night, I still see him, in a crowd, on a bus, in reflections, and each time he looks a little more like me and a little less like a stranger. Because the truth is, I think I remember him now. We let him in, and he never left. Someone impersonated me to pick up my child at school. Word count 3,000. It started with a call from the school. "Mr. Tran?" the voice asked. "Yes?" "This is Ms. Delgado from Roosevelt Elementary. Just confirming. Did you pick up Ethan early today?" I blinked at my monitor, glanced at the clock. 3:07 p.m. "No," I said slowly. "I'm at work." A beat of silence. "Someone signed him out at 2:10. I stood up. My chair rolled back with a screech. "What do you mean someone signed him out?" "They presented ID, your ID, and Ethan went willingly. We assumed I'm on my way." I didn't remember grabbing my keys. Didn't remember the drive. Just the nausea rising fast and thick like bile in my throat. The school had locked down by the time I arrived. Blue and red lights flashed outside the main entrance. A pair of officers stood by the front door. I showed them my license, babbled my son's name, my own. They let me through. Inside, the principal, Miss Chen, was pacing in the lobby. Miss Delgado, the secretary, stood beside her, pale-faced. They both looked at me like I was a ghost. "We're so sorry," Miss Chen said. "We had no reason to think." "Where is my son?" "We're working with the police now," she said. "He left at 2:10. The man who took him had your ID, your signature, even knew your pickup code. Ethan didn't hesitate." "What did he look like?" Miss Delgado glanced at Miss Chen. "Like you," she said quietly. "Exactly like you." The security footage backed her up. I watched it 3 times. Each loop made me colder. There I was, walking through the school's front doors at 2:08 p.m., wearing the navy windbreaker I'd left at home, smiling politely, signing the release clipboard, then walking out, hand in hand with Ethan, my son, my 8-year-old boy. They chatted as they left. Ethan even laughed at one point. The angle shifted. For a second, I saw the impersonator's face in profile. It was my face, down to the mole on the right cheek, the scar by the eyebrow, the slight crook in the nose. But I hadn't been there. I was miles away, fixing a broken server office. I showed the officers my GPS logs, the time-stamped Slack messages, my office keycard entries. Everything proved where I'd been. And still, there I was. The impersonator didn't drive my car. He led Ethan down the street, out of camera range. No plates, no vehicle, just a man with my face, holding my son's hand. Jess flew in that night. We'd been separated for almost a year, co-parenting Ethan between apartments. I expected anger, screaming, accusations, but when she arrived at the police station and saw me, she just said, "You didn't do this." I shook my head. "I swear to God." "I know," she whispered. We held each other for a long time. That night, I didn't sleep. Neither did Jess. We watched old home videos of Ethan on my laptop, not because we wanted to, but because we needed to remember his laugh, his voice, his normal. At 3:27 a.m., my phone buzzed. An email. No sender, no subject, just an attachment, video file. I hesitated, then clicked. It was grainy, black and white, fixed angle, like from a ceiling corner. A room, sparse, cement floor, a cot in the corner. Ethan sat on the edge, swinging his legs, unharmed, calm. Then off-screen, a voice spoke. Male, flat, but familiar. "Say hi, Ethan." He looked at the camera. "Hi, Dad." The clip ended. I showed it to the police. They traced the IP. A VPN bouncing through 5 countries. No luck. They contacted the FBI, opened a file, issued an Amber Alert. But without a suspect, without a motive, it stalled. 2 days passed. Then another video. This time, Ethan was coloring. Same room, same cot. "Can I come home now?" he asked off screen. Silence. Then the voice again. "Soon." I replayed that clip over and over. The voice. It wasn't just similar. It was mine. Jess started sleeping at my place. Neither of us said it out loud, but we both felt safer together. I installed extra locks, covered the windows, added 3 cameras. Still, every night, I heard my own voice in my head. "Say hi, Ethan." The 3rd video came on Friday. Ethan was sitting on the floor. Silent. The camera zoomed in slightly. A new voice spoke. Higher pitched. Childlike. Why doesn't he remember? Then mine. He will. The feed cut. That night I had a dream. I was walking through the elementary hallway. Doors warped and bulged. The walls were pulsing like skin. I opened the main office door. I was standing behind the desk, smiling. Then I looked down and realized I was holding Ethan's hand. I woke up gasping. Jess sat up beside me. "What is it?" I couldn't speak. I just pointed to the baby monitor on my nightstand. We didn't own a baby monitor. It was off, but it was glowing. Recording. I took it apart, found a memory card inside, plugged it into my laptop. 1 file. Footage from the night before. Jess and I, sleeping. Camera angled from the hallway just outside the bedroom. Then at 2:19 a.m., the door opened, and I walked in. He stood at the foot of the bed for 13 seconds, then turned and left. Jess stayed with her sister after that. I didn't blame her. The police took the card, ran the same analysis. Nothing. No trace. The lead agent, a man named Connors, asked me a question on the way out. "You ever have a twin?" "No." He raised an eyebrow. "Just asking." The next video came that night. This time, Ethan was crying. Not screaming, not yelling, just quiet, hopeless sobs. The voice behind the camera, my voice, spoke again. "You see? You're just like me." I stopped going to work. I barely ate. All I did was rewatch those videos frame by frame, looking for something, anything that could help. On the 7th day, I found it. In the second video, as Ethan reaches for a crayon, the corner of the screen flickers. For one frame, a reflection in the window. It wasn't me holding the camera. It was a face, like mine, but older, cracked, pale, too pale. And the eyes were completely black. I took a screenshot, sent it to every agency contact I had. Only one replied, an encrypted message from a former FBI profiler I knew in college. He wrote, "I've seen this before. They call it the split, happens every few years. Always different targets, always the same pattern." "What pattern?" I replied. No answer. That night, I set up a camera facing my front door, motion activated, night vision. Then I waited. At 3:41 a.m., I got a ping. Footage, 11 seconds. A figure walking up to my door, not breaking in, just standing, watching, then leaning in. The porch camera captured his face perfectly. It was mine, but stretched, subtly wrong, like skin draped over something else. The mouth didn't move. But I heard the voice in the audio. "We remember." I left town the next day, checked into a motel 2 hours south, no forwarding address, no credit cards. Still, the 4th video found me, delivered in a manila envelope, no stamp, the return address home. Inside, the footage was different. Ethan wasn't in the frame, just me, the other me, sitting at a desk, staring into the camera. "I know you're watching," he said. Then he smiled. "You took something once, a long time ago. You locked it away. You made it forget." He leaned closer. "But we remember." I didn't understand. Not until I called my mother again, asked about my childhood, specifically about any strange incidents. Gaps. She hesitated, then said, "You had an imaginary friend, remember? When you were 4, you called him Second Dean." I didn't remember. "He wanted to be you," she said. "Said he was trapped in the wrong body. Used to scare the hell out of me." "What happened? You stopped talking about him after that night." "What night?" "You locked yourself in the closet. Screamed for an hour. When we got you out, you said, 'I sent him away,' then never mentioned him again." I didn't speak for a full minute. My mom, voice small, added, "Your dad always thought it was a dissociative thing, but I never believed that." The 5th video arrived the next morning. Ethan again, but older. He looked about 10, maybe 11. "I'm almost ready," he said to the camera. Then, "Will you remember me, Dad?" I called the FBI, begged for more help. They agreed to widen the search radius. Pushed a new media blast. No leads. But that night Ethan came home. He appeared on my doorstep at 2:07 a.m., alone, wearing the same clothes he disappeared in. He knocked once. I opened the door, and he smiled. A perfect, normal Ethan smile. I scooped him up, sobbing. He smelled like soap. He was real. I called Jess, called the cops, everyone. They ran tests, confirmed identity. It was Ethan. He was fine. No memory of the last 10 days, just nothing. They let us go. Said sometimes trauma blanks the mind. We moved. Far away. New life. Ethan sleeps well now, but sometimes I see him talking to himself in the mirror. Mouth moving but silent. Once, I caught him whispering, I let him out so I could come home. Then he smiled, but it wasn't Ethan's smile. It was mine. The streetlight outside my house flickers every time I look out the window. Word count 3,000. It started the night I moved in. The house wasn't anything special. 2 bedrooms, a small fenced yard, peeling white paint, but it was mine. After years of renting and bouncing from one job to another, I finally had a place I could settle in. A place to breathe. My new street was quiet, lined with oaks that whispered with even the slightest wind. The neighbors waved politely but kept to themselves. I liked that. That first night, after unpacking just enough to collapse on the couch with a microwave dinner, I noticed the street light. It stood directly across from my living room window. Tall, rusted a bit near the base, the kind of orange sodium light they don't install anymore. It flickered once when I glanced at it, just a soft twitch like an old bulb. Didn't think much of it, until it did it again. And again. Each time I looked out the window, it flickered. Only when I looked. I tried testing it. Staring. Flicker. Looking away. Steady. Back again. Flicker. It felt intentional. I laughed it off. My brain was fried from moving all day, and sleep deprivation does weird things. I closed the curtains and went to bed. That was Monday. Tuesday night, it flickered again. I'd left the curtains open this time, hoping to enjoy a quiet evening with a book and some music. I caught the flicker out of the corner of my eye, looked out, flicker. Then it stayed steady, until I blinked, and flicker. It was small, almost imperceptible, but enough to notice. Enough to feel like I wasn't imagining it. I recorded it with my phone, played the video back. Nothing. Steady light the entire time. But live when I looked, it flickered, like it knew. Wednesday, I called the electric company. Streetlight issue, I explained. Keeps flickering. They sent a technician out the next day. I watched from the porch as he checked the wiring, tapped the pole with a gloved fist, and eventually shrugged. Looks fine to me, he said. Might be your eyes. Excuse me? Some people are more sensitive to light cycling. Could just be perception. I didn't argue. But that night, I tested it with a mirror. Sat on the couch. Mirror angled toward the window. Nothing. Looked out directly. Flicker. Thursday night, it got worse. I was brushing my teeth, lights off in the bathroom. I prefer it dark in the evenings. When I glanced toward the living room. From that angle, I could see the window and the street light. It flickered twice, then went out completely. Pitch black. I walked to the window, toothpaste still foaming in my mouth. The street was dark. Only my porch light and the neighboring houses offered any glow. I stepped outside, barefoot on the cold concrete. The light remained out, until I looked away. Then, with a loud buzz, click, it turned back on. I didn't sleep. Every sound in the house made me jump. Pipes settling, the fridge humming, a faint scratching from somewhere in the attic. At 3:14 a.m., I looked out the window again. The streetlight flickered once, and someone was standing under it. I blinked. The figure was gone. Just shadows. I stayed by the window for an hour. Nothing returned. Eventually, I dozed off on the couch, lights still on. Friday, I bought blackout curtains, tacked them down, blocked every inch of light. I needed peace. I needed my brain to stop spinning webs. The house stayed dark that night, silent, until 2:37 a.m., when the power went out. Not just a flicker. Gone, everything. I lit a candle. My phone's flashlight cast long, twitching shadows on the walls. I made my way to the front window and peeked between the curtain edge and the frame. The streetlight was on, even though the rest of the block was dark. And beneath it, someone was standing there again. This time, I didn't blink. I watched. The figure stood motionless, just outside the cone of light so its features were obscured. Tall, slightly hunched, arms too long, it raised one hand and waved. I dropped the curtain and backed away, heart hammering. When the power came back 5 minutes later, the house lit up all at once, but I didn't look outside again. Saturday, I drove to the hardware store, bought motion lights, an outdoor camera, extra locks. The cashier tried to make small talk, but I was somewhere else entirely. My mind kept replaying that silhouette, the wave. When I got home, I reviewed the footage from the previous night. Nothing. No outage, no movement. Just steady time-lapse frames of my front yard, completely still. I stared at the screen for an hour, trying to will something into appearing. That night, I kept the lights on, didn't sleep, didn't look out the window. Sunday morning, I noticed something odd. A handprint on the glass, smudged, long fingers, greasy residue, from the outside. I called the police. They sent someone out, took a report. Nothing was stolen, no signs of forced entry. "I'll have a patrol swing by tonight," the officer said. I nodded, but I didn't feel reassured. When she left, I cleaned the window thoroughly, then sat by the couch and stared at the streetlight. Flicker. That night, it didn't flicker. Not once. I waited until 3 a.m. Still nothing. I thought maybe it was over, until I noticed the door. It was unlocked. I always lock it, always. I approached slowly, checked the knob, cold metal. On the ground, just inside, was a piece of paper, folded neatly. I picked it up. No writing, just a crude drawing. A house with one window and a figure inside staring out. Monday, I didn't go to work. Didn't eat. Didn't speak to anyone. I sat in the kitchen with every light on, waiting for something to happen. That night, I covered every mirror. Left the curtains shut, but at 3:33 a.m., I heard it. A knock. 3 times. I didn't move. Then the sound of the front door opening, then closing. Then footsteps on the wood floor, slow, deliberate. They stopped just outside the kitchen. I held my breath. Then the lights flickered and died. When they came back on, I was alone, but the kitchen window was open, and on the counter, another drawing. This one showed the figure inside the house, looking in. Tuesday, I went to stay with a friend, told him I was having some issues with wiring. Didn't elaborate. I slept for the first time in days, but even there, even blocks away, when I glanced out his front window, the streetlight across from his house flickered. I moved out the following week, sold the house, cheap, cash offer from someone who didn't ask many questions. I rented an apartment downtown, no windows facing the street. It helped for a while, until I was walking home one evening, past a lamppost on 8th Avenue. It flickered. I froze, then turned. There was no one there. But taped to the pole was a note, hand-drawn, a window, a streetlight, and me, staring out. A stranger always boards the same train car as me and is starting to dress like me. Word count, 3,000. My mornings are sacred. Same alarm, 6:30 a.m. Same toast, same coffee, same seat on the 712 train from Ashford Station into the city. Same car, 4th from the front, 3rd window seat on the left. I like routine. I like knowing what comes next. So when I first noticed the stranger, I chalked it up to the usual background noise of commuting life. He boarded 2 stops after me, St. Mark's. Sat directly across from me, didn't read, didn't scroll his phone, just sat. That was Monday. By Wednesday, I noticed he always wore the same thing. Dark coat, faded jeans, brown boots. Nothing unusual, but he was always in that exact seat, 3 rows away, staring straight ahead, never at me, but never anywhere else. Thursday, I saw him adjust his watch. Same model as mine, same band, even the tiny scratch across the bezel. That was the first time I really looked at his face, and something twisted in my gut. He looked like me. Not exactly. Not enough for a double take, but enough. Same jawline, same eyes, same slight downturn to the lips when resting. Coincidence, I told myself. Big city. Shared demographics, probability. Friday, he wasn't on the train. I tried not to care, but I scanned every face that boarded after St. Mark's. Nothing. I felt relieved. Until I got to the office, stepped into the elevator, and saw him standing in the corner. Same coat, same watch, staring straight ahead. He got off 3 floors above mine. Didn't look at me, didn't acknowledge anything. I told myself I was being paranoid. That weekend, I spent hours Googling, seeing your double, stranger mimicking you, doppelganger folklore. I didn't like what I found. An omen, a sign of death, an entity trying to replace you. I laughed it off. But my fingers were cold the whole time. Monday, he was back on the train. Same seat, same coat, same watch. But this time, his hair was different. Styled like mine. Same side part, same product, even. I felt my pulse in my ears. At work, I couldn't concentrate. Kept checking the hallway, expecting to see him. At 3:46 p.m., I got a Slack message from an unknown user. "You look tired." I stared at the screen, clicked the profile. No user, no message history. Gone. Tuesday, I waited at the far end of the platform, boarded the last car instead of the fourth. 3 stops later, he boarded. Walked the length of the train, sat across from me. Same smile, same slight nod, like an acknowledgement between friends. That night I set up a camera, used my old phone, mounted it discreetly under my seat, pointed at his row. The next morning, he was already there when I boarded, smiling. He looked at the camera, then at me, and winked. I reviewed the footage obsessively, frame by frame. At 7:29 a.m., he leaned toward the camera, whispered something. There was no sound, but I could read his lips. "You're late." I stopped taking the train, started driving, paid extra for parking, anything to avoid him. But the second morning, I saw him walking by my car in the lot, then again in the lobby, always a few steps behind, never speaking, never breaking eye contact when we passed, and always dressed like me. Thursday night, I got a text, unknown number. "You're off schedule." I didn't reply, but when I looked out my apartment window, he was standing on the sidewalk, wearing my jacket. I reported him to HR the next day, showed them the train footage, the messages, the texts. They promised to investigate, promised to check building access logs, promised everything. But that afternoon, my manager called me in. "Hey," he said awkwardly, "we got a new hire from headquarters shadowing the team." He gestured to the open plan office, and there he was, sitting at my old desk, wearing my old shirt, smiling. I quit that night, packed up everything, drove 3 towns over, booked a month in a furnished sublet, didn't tell anyone where I went, changed my number, new email, new routine, no trains, no mirrors. A week passed. Then 2. Silence, normalcy, until the 3rd Tuesday. When I got back from the grocery store and found the front door unlocked, inside everything was exactly as I left it, except on the kitchen table, a brown paper bag with a receipt from the cafe I used to go to near the office, time-stamped that morning, and the name on the order, my name. I drove straight to a motel, checked in under an alias, slept with the lights on. At 2:46 a.m. I heard a knock, then another, 3 total. I crept to the peephole. No one there. But under the door, a photo of me, sitting on the train, smiling. I called the police. They found no prints, no surveillance footage, no sign of a break-in. The motel clerk swore I hadn't left, but when they pulled the security cam footage, at 7:12 a.m. that morning, I was shown walking out the front door, wearing the same coat I hadn't worn in days, same jeans, same boots. I went home, or tried to, but my key didn't fit, and when I knocked, he answered. My face, my voice, my smile, behind him my apartment, my furniture, everything in its place, except me. "I live here," I said. "No," he replied gently. "You did." Then he closed the door. I stayed in a hostel. Cheap. Anonymity. Avoided windows. Avoided my reflection. But one night in the shared kitchen, I caught a glimpse in the stainless steel fridge. He was behind me, closer than ever. He raised a finger, pressed it to his lips. The next morning, everyone in the hostel acted like they'd known him for weeks. Called him by my name, asked if he wanted the usual coffee. He smiled and said yes. I don't know what he is, not exactly, but I know what he wants. And every time I see him, he looks a little more like me, talks a little more like me, and I feel a little less like myself, like I'm fading, like I'm becoming the copy. So I run. New city, new name, new everything. But every so often, I board a train, and across from me, he's already there, smiling in my seat. I received an email describing exactly everything I did that day. Word count. It was an ordinary Tuesday. Nothing special. Woke up at 6:45, snoozed twice, rolled out of bed around 7, made coffee, half teaspoon of sugar, a splash of almond milk, burned my tongue again because I never wait long enough, dressed in a blue Oxford shirt and gray chinos, took the 7:58 bus to work, seat 14, window side, same as always. Logged in by 8:26, slacked with Erica about the Jenkins error, ate the leftover curry around noon, headphones in, lo-fi playlist, zoned out for most of the afternoon until the 4 p.m. client call. Nothing noteworthy. Until 6:11 p.m. That's when I got the email. Subject: you had a good day. No sender name, no reply address, just a string of alphanumeric gibberish. The body of the email was plain text. 6:45 alarm. 6:48 snooze. 6:51 snooze again. 7:03 out of bed. Yawn twice. 7:05 coffee, 1 sugar, almond milk, sip, burn, you should learn. Missed the green light on 4th again, blame the dog walker. 58 bus, seat 14, window, scratch the back of your hand. 8:26 login, Erica, still broken, lull. 12:1 cold curry, 3 bites before you realized you forgot the rice. 1:44 watched 3 minutes of that YouTube compilation before tabbing away when Ken passed by. 4 client call, you said pivot 4 times. 6:07 left office, didn't say bye to Claire. 6:11 opened this email. I reread it, then again, then checked the time. 6:12 p.m. I slammed the laptop shut. I didn't sleep well that night. Kept thinking back to every small detail. Things no one could have known. I lived alone, no roommates, no smart devices, no obvious cameras. The coffee, the exact timing, the missed light, the YouTube tab, the pivots. It was like someone had watched me, closely, intimately. But even then, how would they know the bus seat? The scratch? I reported it to IT the next morning. Ryan from security gave me the classic shrug. Phishing maybe, he said. Weirdly specific though, I'll flag it. Can't you trace the sender? Not really. It was routed through 3 Tor relays and some dead domains. Honestly, it's impressive. I tried to laugh. Failed. Wednesday passed uneventfully. No new emails. By Thursday morning, I'd almost convinced myself it was some elaborate prank. Maybe Erica, or Ken, or one of those tech bros in dev with too much time. I was starting to relax until 5:59 p.m. Subject almost the same. 6:45 alarm. 6:48 snooze. Again. 7:01 out of bed. 7:05 coffee. Burn tongue again, one day you'll learn. 7:57 bus. Late. Seat 14 taken. You frowned. Sat in 16. 8:24 login. Erica said, still dead. 10:02 checked your reflection in monitor. Still hate your hairline. 12:12 skipped lunch. Stomach growled at 2:15. 3:47 blinked 7 times in a row. You counted. 5:41 dropped pen. Bent to pick it up, saw someone's shoes, dark brown, scuffed toe. 5:59 opened this email. My heart stuttered. This wasn't recycled detail. This was now. This was today. The pen. The shoes. I hadn't told anyone, hadn't even thought about it. But there it was. I left work early. Took side streets, watched for shadows. Every person who passed me was a suspect. Every window, a possible camera. Every phone, a tool for surveillance. I ordered takeout, paid in cash, turned off all the lights, and ate in the dark. No email came. I almost felt disappointed. Friday. No message. But I noticed a change. The man across from me on the bus, he wore the same shirt I had on. Blue Oxford. Same brand, even. I only noticed when he leaned forward and the collar tag peeked out. I moved seats. At lunch, a stranger sat at the next table facing me. Same posture. Same tap of the finger against the glass. Same way I chewed. That night, the email came at 11:58 p.m. Subject, good impression today. There was no list this time, just a photo. Me, walking down 4th Street, taken from behind, framed just over the shoulder of someone wearing my shirt. I smashed the router, pulled every plug, shut off my phone. Then I went to the police. They took the report, jotted notes, promised to monitor for any escalation. I could tell they didn't believe me. I didn't blame them. I barely believed it myself. Saturday, I didn't leave my apartment. I covered the windows, duct taped the peephole, moved the couch in front of the door. The email came at 3 a.m. Subject, inside already. No body text, just an audio file. I clicked it, my own voice, breathing, then whispering, check the closet. I didn't. I waited until sunrise, then I checked. Empty, except for one thing, a second coat. Just like mine, same wear, same left sleeve tear. Mine was on the rack by the door. I didn't go back to sleep. Didn't eat, didn't move for hours, just sat, waiting. The email came again at midnight. A video, dark, grainy, my bedroom, filmed from the ceiling corner, me, sleeping, then a shape at the foot of the bed, motionless, watching, for 8 hours, then gone. Sunday morning, I packed everything. Left town, no forwarding address, no calls, no texts, ghosted everyone, checked into a motel 3 states over under a fake name, bought a burner laptop, a burner phone, felt safe for a while, until Tuesday. 6:11 p.m. Subject, routine reestablished. The list had returned, each movement, each thought, each skipped breath, and one new line. 6:10 finally stopped running. The emails come every day now. Different name, same structure, always on time, always precise, and every day the stranger gets closer. I see him sometimes, reflected in windows, on escalators, in bathroom mirrors. Not quite me, but almost. He smiles now, wider than I do. His teeth don't quite fit, but he's learning. Every email makes him stronger, more accurate, more real. I don't know how much longer I'll last, how much longer before he takes over completely. But if you ever get an email describing your day in perfect detail, don't open it, don't read, don't acknowledge. That's how he gets in. I found photos of myself sleeping on a stranger's phone. It started on the train, a red eye, overnight from Chicago to Portland. I was in seat 17A, economy cabin, window side. An aisle and one row behind me sat a man, tall, mise olive coat, quiet. I didn't pay much attention at first. The train was packed. Everyone looked tired, heads buried in devices, headphones in. I pulled on a hoodie, curled toward the window, and tried to sleep. But something felt off. I'd wake up every hour. That half-alert fog where your body thinks you're asleep, but your mind insists something isn't right. Every time I stirred, I had the same sensation, like someone was watching me. At 3:27 a.m., I opened my eyes fully and caught the man in the olive coat turning away quickly. He'd been facing me, not sleeping, just sitting rigidly, his phone in hand, angled slightly upward, pointed at me. I told myself I was being paranoid. Paranoia, after all, is cheap on a train in the dead of night. Still, I sat up straighter, stayed awake. When we pulled into the next station, he got up to stretch, left his phone on the seat, unlocked, screen still lit. Curiosity, or maybe something deeper, got the better of me. I reached across the aisle, glanced around, and picked it up. The photo app was open. He'd been taking pictures, dozens of them, all of me, sleeping, from slightly different angles, over different times. My face half lit by passing station lights, my lips slightly parted, my hands tucked under my cheek the way I always sleep. The timestamp on the earliest photo, 11:46 p.m. The latest, 3:25 a.m. 2 minutes before I'd opened my eyes. I snapped the phone shut and set it down. Quickly, carefully. My hands were shaking. He came back seconds later, didn't say anything, just picked it up, glanced at the screen, and slowly turned it off. But he didn't look at me. Not once. I got off 2 stops early. Called an Uber from the station, even though it was double the price at that hour. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I hadn't taken any screenshots, no proof, no name, nothing to give the cops except man on a train took creepy photos. But it stuck with me. The angles, the timestamps, how intentional it all felt. That night, I double-checked every lock in my apartment, drew the curtains, slept with the hall light on. At 3:12 a.m., I woke up. No noise, just the feeling. That old, primal instinct. I was not alone. I sat up in bed, listened. Nothing. But in the morning, I found something odd. The chair by my bedroom window, normally angled toward my desk, was facing the bed. I checked my phone. No alerts, no camera triggers. I didn't have a security system. I didn't think I needed one. I went to work feeling raw, like my nerves had been scrubbed down with sandpaper. And when I got home that night, there was a package at my door. No return address. Inside, a printed photo. Me, sleeping in my bed. I called the police. They took the report, bagged the photo, told me it might be part of a random harassment campaign. Said I should consider installing cameras. They didn't say it outright, but I could hear it in their voices. They didn't believe me. That night, I installed an old webcam I had in storage, hooked it up to motion detection software, pointed it at my bed, went to sleep fully clothed, just in case. At 2:44 a.m., the software pinged, motion detected, frame captured. I opened it immediately. There I was, asleep. And behind me, barely visible, was a shape, a figure, standing just inside the doorway. I didn't sleep the rest of the night, didn't move, just sat on the couch with the lights on, holding a baseball bat I found in the closet. At dawn, I played the video back. Frame by frame, the figure stepped into the room at 2:43 a.m., stood there, watching, then vanished. No exit, no retreat, just gone. I went to a hotel that night, paid cash, checked in under a different name, didn't tell anyone where I was going, but at 11:47 p.m. I got a text, unknown number, no words, just an image, me, asleep in the hotel bed. I threw the phone against the wall. Got dressed, checked out before midnight. I drove 6 hours north to my brother's cabin. He rarely used it, No internet, spotty cell service seemed safe for the first few days it was. But then on the fourth morning, I stepped outside and saw footprints in the frost, leading to the window. Just one set, no return. And that night, tucked under the front door, a flash drive. There were 5 folders, each labeled by date, each containing dozens of photos, all of me, sleeping. Different locations, different clothes, some I didn't even remember wearing. The timestamps went back months before the train, before I ever saw the man in the olive coat. I went to the nearest police station. They took the drive, promised to investigate. I didn't stay to see if they would. I move every week now, different Airbnbs, burner phones, cash only, but every time I sleep, I wake up to new photos. Sometimes in my inbox, sometimes slipped under the door, sometimes already printed and taped to the mirror. Last night I found one inside my pillowcase. Me, eyes half open, mouth parted, and behind me, just visible in the frame, a shape, reaching. The shadow on the rooftop across the street never disappears. I noticed it the day I moved in. I had just started a new job in Chicago, downtown, decent pay, enough to afford a modest studio on the 6th floor of an aging apartment complex. My window looked out across a narrow street to another building, maybe 9 stories tall. Old brick, water stains near the top. A standard city view, except for the shadow. It stood on the rooftop, tall, narrow, a silhouette against the skyline. I thought it was a person at first, a maintenance worker maybe, or a tenant enjoying the view, but it didn't move. That was Tuesday. By Thursday, I started to feel uneasy. The shadow never changed. Morning, afternoon, night, rain or sun, same position, same outline, too still to be human, too defined to be an illusion. I told myself it was a trick of the eye, something stuck to the roof maybe, a sculpture, a weather-worn statue, but deep down, I didn't buy it. I work from home 3 days a week. That first Friday, I spent the whole morning glancing out the window every few minutes. Same shape, same place. On Saturday, I finally asked the doorman, Marvin, "Hey," I said casually, pointing out the window, "you ever notice that thing on the roof across the street?" He followed my finger, squinting. "What thing?" "That shape. Looks like someone standing up there." He frowned. "Don't see anything." I hesitated. "It's right there, dead center. You really don't see it?" He looked again, longer this time, then turned back to me slowly. "There's nothing there, sir." That night, I stood by the window with the lights off, just watching. It was still there. Of course it was. Then, at exactly 2:17 a.m., the rooftop lights flickered, and the shadow tilted its head, just slightly, as if acknowledging me. The next morning, I borrowed my neighbor's binoculars. Ron, 2 doors down, friendly guy, big into bird watching. He handed them over with a grin. "Looking for hawks or nosy neighbors?" "Just want a closer look at something," I muttered. Back in my apartment, I peered through the lenses. The shadow came into focus. It wasn't a sculpture. It wasn't debris. It was something. Its outline wavered slightly like heat distortion. But it was there, and when I zoomed in fully, I could see the hint of a face, or something like one. Eyes, maybe, too wide, too far apart, just watching, always watching. I stopped opening the blinds, started keeping my back to the window when I worked, slept with a towel draped over the curtain rod, but some nights I'd peek, just to see if it was still there. It always was, and some nights it was closer, not physically, not by distance, but perceptually. Like the longer I stared, the more the city blurred, and it sharpened. I started having dreams. Always the rooftop, always the same angle. Except now I was on the roof, standing where the shadow stood, looking in at my window at myself. I tried talking to people, Ron, Marvin, a few coworkers on Zoom. No one saw it. No one even seemed to understand what I was describing. "You mean like a gargoyle?" "No, not a gargoyle. It moves." "You sure you're not just seeing your reflection?" I gave up. One night, desperate, I walked over, crossed the street, entered the lobby of the building directly across from mine. There was no doorman, the elevator was old, buttons half worn. I pressed 9. As it creaked upward, a thought occurred to me. What if the door opened and it was waiting? But when it opened, the hallway was empty. I walked to the end, found the stairwell, climbed the last half flight to the rooftop door. Locked, but someone had scratched a word into the metal. Same. I tried again the next night, and the next. Each time, same door, same scratch, same silence. Back home, the shadow was always there to greet me. I bought a camera, set it on a tripod facing the window, timed photos every 10 minutes for 48 hours. When I reviewed them, nothing. No shadow, no distortion, just an empty rooftop, frame after frame. But when I stood at the window with my own eyes, it was there, clear as day. That's when the headaches started. Behind the eyes, sharp and sudden, like something twisting. I'd blink and for a split second, see flickers of the rooftop, no matter where I was. In the bathroom, in the grocery store, reflected in car windows. It was always there. Same angle, same shadow, watching. I stopped sleeping. Paranoia bloomed like mold in my mind. I taped cardboard over the windows, dismantled the blinds, turned all mirrors to face the walls. But the image remained. In dreams, in the silence between thoughts. A presence, still and endless. I tried moving, packed everything, rented a place 6 miles away, ground floor, no view. I felt better for 2 days. Then, walking home from the corner store, I looked up, saw the outline on a completely different building. Same height, same shape, same tilt of the head. The next morning, my new neighbor handed me a misdelivered letter. No return address, just my name. Inside, a single photo, a close-up of my old apartment window, taken from the rooftop, with my silhouette visible inside. I broke down. Cried, screamed, trashed everything, then sat in the middle of the floor clutching the photo. That night, I slept with the lights on and woke up on the rooftop, not metaphorically, physically. At 3:03 a.m., I opened my eyes and I was there, concrete underfoot, city spread out below, wind howling softly, and across the gap my old window lit me inside, sleeping. I screamed, but no sound came out. I ran for the stairwell, but there was no door, just brick. Solid and blank. I turned back and saw it. Another figure, emerging from my window, walking slowly toward the edge, toward me. When I woke, I was in bed, soaked in sweat. Light pouring through the slats in the boarded window, but in my hand, still clutched tightly, was the photo, creased and damp, but real. That was 3 days ago. I haven't slept since. I'm writing this now in case I disappear again, in case I wake up there for good. Because each night, I get closer. Each night, the dream lasts longer, and each time I blink, I swear the shadow is waving. In every selfie I take, there's a face behind me. I've never been a selfie person, not in the way people usually mean it. I don't post them, I don't use filters, I don't chase likes. I take them mostly for practical reasons. A new haircut, checking how tired I look before meetings, trying on outfits. That's how it started. Casual, meaningless. Until one afternoon, 3 weeks ago, I was in the elevator heading up to my apartment, fluorescent light overhead, mirror paneling on both sides. Out of boredom, I raised my phone and snapped a quick photo, didn't even check it until I got inside. I was halfway through a cup of instant ramen when I opened the gallery. There I was, and behind me, a face. Not fully formed, not clear, more like a pale smudge just over my shoulder. Dark pits where the eyes should be, a faint mouth, slightly open, and something that looked like hair, stringy and wet. I stared at it for a long time, tried to convince myself it was a reflection or some kind of glitch in the mirror, but the longer I looked, the more details emerged. The mouth wasn't slightly open, it was whispering. I deleted the photo, didn't save it, didn't back it up, told myself it was stress, low light, maybe just a weird reflection. 2 days later, I took another. Standing in front of my closet, trying on a new shirt, same position, same lighting, normal background, and again, there it was. Behind me. Closer this time. The mouth stretched into a grin. I started checking every photo I'd taken in the past month. Every mirror selfie, every group photo where I was in frame. Nothing. Not a trace. Only the new ones. The ones I took after that elevator shot. I took one in daylight, by the kitchen window. The face was faint. Almost translucent. Blurred. But it was there. I told my roommate Liz, she's a photography grad, so I figured she'd have some insight. "Let me see," she said, reaching for my phone. I opened the gallery, handed it over. She flipped through, frowned. "There's nothing weird in these." I blinked. "What?" She looked up. "I mean, your lighting is awful, but there's no face." I grabbed the phone back, opened the most recent image. It was gone. The face, gone. The photo looked completely normal. Empty background, no ghost, no blur, just me. I tried again, went to the bathroom, took 5 rapid selfies in the mirror, checked each one, nothing, until I transferred them to my laptop. Then, clear as day, the face, in all 5. It didn't make sense. Was it my screen, some software error, a trick of the lighting that only showed up on bigger displays? But every time I zoomed in, it became clearer. Cheekbones sharp, skin wet and gray, teeth too small, and its eyes, not looking at the camera, looking at me. I stopped taking photos, locked my camera app, deleted all mirror selfies, but then other people started sending me photos, group pictures, nights out, office gatherings. In every single one, it was behind me. Sometimes far, sometimes close, sometimes in places it couldn't physically be, like the cafe bathroom stall, or my bedroom with the door shut, or the church I haven't stepped foot in for years. I started tracing them, printed each photo, pinned them to my wall, mapped the position of the face relative to me, sometimes over my shoulder, sometimes behind a glass door. Once, it was above me, looking down through a skylight, always there, always watching. Then it moved. The change was subtle at first, a shift in expression, a new tilt of the head, the angle of its body. Then one day, in a group photo from a birthday dinner, its hand was on my shoulder. I installed cameras in my apartment, one in the living room, one above the bed. Nothing happened for days. Then Tuesday night, I checked the footage. At 3:03 a.m., the bedroom camera picked up a flicker. One frame, just one, but it was enough. The face right next to mine, lying on the pillow, mouth inches from my ear. I moved out the next day, didn't break the lease, didn't even clean, just left. Found a short-term rental across town, minimal windows, no mirrors, no photos. For a week it worked, until I caught my reflection in the toaster and saw it smiling. I tried therapy, tried sleep aids, tried staying awake for 3 days straight, but nothing helped. The face was in the shadows now, in window reflections, in puddles, in the gleam of my phone screen before it loads. Last weekend, I went to visit my parents, somewhere safe, familiar. They asked if I'd been eating, sleeping. I told them yes, of course. My mom wanted a photo. It's been months since we had a good one. I refused. She laughed it off, snapped one when I wasn't looking. That night, she knocked on my door, her face pale. "Sweetie," she whispered, holding her phone, "what is this?" She showed me the photo, and there it was, the face, closer than ever, leaning in from behind me, mouth wide open. We called a priest, old school, Eastern Orthodox, wore black robes and brought oil in a tiny vial. He walked through the house, said prayers in a language I didn't know, stopped in the hallway, stared at the mirror. "Don't take any more photos," he said. "What happens if I do?" He didn't answer, but he gave me a small cross and left before sunset. I didn't sleep that night, sat in the hallway watching the mirror. At 3:15 a.m., the surface rippled, and the face pressed against the glass. Now, it's not just photos. I see it in dreams, in the corner of my eye when I turn too quickly, in every silence. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it wants, but it's growing clearer. Every day, becoming more solid, more real. And yesterday, I took a photo by accident. The front camera flipped on while I was closing an app, and in the image, there were two faces, mine and its. But now they looked almost identical. I'm writing this as a warning. If you ever see something, anything, out of place in your photos, if you catch a face behind you that doesn't belong, don't ignore it. Don't smile back, because once it sees itself in the image, it remembers where you are. I bought an old clock. It always shows the exact time I have nightmares. I'm not a superstitious person. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in cursed objects. I've never owned a dream catcher, a lucky charm, or talisman. But after what's happened over the last 2 months, I don't know what to believe anymore. It started with a clock. A simple, old mantle clock I picked up at a thrift store. I had just moved into a new apartment, a one-bedroom in an old building downtown. Exposed brick, high ceilings, noisy pipes. It had charm, or at least that's what I told myself. I was browsing a vintage shop a few blocks away when I saw it. The clock was unremarkable. Wood frame, brass trim, slightly chipped edges. The face was yellowed with age, Roman numerals, hour and minute hands, no second. It wasn't running, but I liked the look of it. The tag read, $5 needs work. I bought it. Back home, I placed it on the mantle above my electric fireplace, just for decoration. That night, I had a nightmare, the kind that doesn't fade when you wake. I was in my apartment, except everything was reversed. The walls bled inward like wet paper. A voice kept whispering, soft and urgent, "You're not alone. You're not alone." When I jolted awake, gasping, I glanced at the clock on my phone. 3:12 a.m. Then I noticed the mantel clock. It was ticking, and the hands pointed to 3:12. I didn't think much of it. Figured maybe I'd wound it by accident. Maybe the ticking was always there, and I hadn't noticed. I took the battery out to stop it. The next night, another nightmare. This time I was trapped in a hallway that never ended. Doors on either side, screaming behind each one. My feet felt glued to the floor. I woke up at 2:47 a.m. The clock, dead battery and all, read stot 2:47. That's when I started paying attention. I documented every night. Took photos of the clock before bed with the battery removed. Each morning, after another nightmare, the clock's hands had moved, always matching the time I woke, always precise. I had the clock examined. Took it to a repair shop downtown. The old man behind the counter raised an eyebrow. Mechanical, but not in great shape. You sure this ran? It doesn't, I said. That's the problem. He opened the back, poked around, then gave me a look. There's nothing inside, he said. The mechanism's been gutted. This is basically a shell. I left the shop in silence. That night, I slept without the clock in the room. No dreams, no waking, just solid black sleep. I brought the clock back in the next night. Another nightmare. Worse this time. I was buried, underground. Couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Dirt filled my mouth, and something laughed, high and sharp, just outside the coffin. I woke up choking. The clock read 4:4. My phone. I started researching. Cursed objects, haunted timepieces, sleep paralysis, hypnagogic hallucinations. Found a few threads on obscure forums. Stories about clocks that ran backwards, grandfather clocks that chimed at the wrong times, pocket watches that only ticked for one owner, but nothing exactly like mine. I tried to destroy it. Sledgehammer on the roof of the building. The wood cracked, the glass shattered. I threw the pieces in the dumpster and went back inside. That night, I had the worst nightmare yet. I was in bed. My own bed. Couldn't move. And there at the foot of it was something watching, tall, thin. Its face was an imitation of mine, like someone trying to draw me from memory and failing. Its hands ticked back and forth like metronomes. It whispered the same word over and over, tick. I woke up drenched in sweat. Checked the phone. Heart racing, I walked to the living room and froze. There on the mantel, reassembled, the clock, pristine, whole, ticking. I moved it into the closet, locked the door, still had the nightmare. Still woke up to find the time matched. I started seeing shadows in the corners of rooms, glitches in reflections. The mirror in the bathroom would hold my image a half second too long. Once, walking home from work, I passed a shop window, saw my reflection, and behind me, a tall shape, ticking fingers. I stopped sleeping, tried staying up 48 hours. On the second night, I nodded off on the couch, a 20-minute nap, long enough for a dream, long enough for it. This time it reached for me, and the moment its hand touched my chest, I jolted awake. My heart didn't stop racing for an hour. I gave the clock away, left it on the curb, hoping someone would take it. No one did. It was gone the next morning. I thought maybe I was free. That night, no dreams. I slept deeply, the first time in weeks. But the next evening, when I came home, it was on the mantel again, slightly dusted, still ticking. I moved apartments, didn't tell anyone the new address. No forwarding, no mail, brought only what I could carry. New city, new job, fresh start. I didn't bring the clock, didn't even look at it before I left. The nightmares stopped for a while. Then, 3 nights ago, I woke at 3:18, breathless, heart racing. My chest felt bruised, like something had been pressing on it. I reached for my phone to check the time and saw the screen. The wallpaper had changed to a photo of my new apartment, of my living room. And on the mantel was the clock. It arrived yesterday. No package, no label, just sitting outside my door, ticking. Tonight I've set up cameras, one pointed at the mantel, one at my bed. If I disappear, if I don't wake up, maybe someone will see. Maybe someone will understand. The clock doesn't just tell time, it chooses time. The time I wake, the time I scream, the time I die. And it's ticking faster now.